Hello there. You're listening to Go Podcast. I'm St-Pierre.
And I'm Morten.
So yeah, today we are trying something new. So like I was saying in the last episode, I want to bring some dynamism to the podcast. So I'm trying to find some co-hosts and whatnot. So Morten is there. So yeah, let's start by hearing a little bit about you, Morten.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Morten. I'm from Denmark. I live in Spain right now. I've been doing Go for the last, I think, 5, 6, 7 years or something. I mainly work as a freelance/consulting developer. Do a little bit of open source and educational content, as well as a lot of AI stuff. Yeah, I think that's me. A quick rundown.
Nice. So today we wanted to touch a little bit on the subject of AI and education. Especially, I think we will have some kind of interesting conversation because we don't really have anything prepared. So we will do it by here and things like that. So I will let you start maybe, or maybe I can start. I don't even know. I'm not super familiar with having a co-host. I usually do interviews with other people, and now I'm asking questions and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
but I will let you start.
Yeah. So I think just to preface this a little bit, I've done a course on how you do full stack web development in Go. Started doing that over a year ago and did a release around December, an early access release. So been following the whole educational content, development content and AI closely. You can definitely see a shift in the market. The big ones like Laracast are doing big changes, right? Aaron Francis also doing some pivots. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I have opinions, right? But I'm also trying to peddle a course, so that they might be biased. I think that's important to preface it, right? I think my main thesis is that we are in a time right now where maybe there's an overestimation of how efficient you can use an LLM as a teacher. I think people will probably realize that unknowns is a big thing when you're trying to learn a topic, right? And there's nothing really to push against you when you're using an LLM. I think that's gonna be one of the big things to solve. How do you know when to push back, right? But I also come from a background of having taught myself programming through courses. I started with something called Team Treehouse back in the day. Did a Python course, and then I did some React courses, right? So this has been my approach, and maybe whatever I think right now is completely off, and all the young people will be completely fine using LLMs. I'm very skeptical. I think that's my core thesis.
Yeah. I hear you on that. And, having published some courses myself, I talked with John Arundel a lot because he's also publishing some courses and whatnot. We have seen some kind of a drop, I would say, in the last year, maybe year and a half, potentially, in sales. Well, me personally, my material was getting very old, so I was expecting that a lot. But even there, I mean, it's true. It's true that I think a lot of content, or at least people that were publishing some training materials, have seen a drop since since LLMs are getting there, I would say. Yeah. But like you were saying, I mean, it's tricky because you cannot really fully blindly believe what gets out of the LLM. So and you have to know exactly what to ask for. So that is the challenge potentially to say that LLMs are very, very good at teaching. Yeah, they are good at teaching what they know, or at least what you are able to make clear for them as a questions. But
Yeah.
so that is the tricky part.
And also, I think you see it a lot in development, because I started working very heavily with, or not working very heavily. I started using them more in, I think, April or something last year. Before that, I've been just using Claude and ChatGPT as a chat. I've been using Copilot, right? But I really started to explore them more deeply around spring last year, and I could follow the conversations on Twitter, seeing how there are still a lot of people arguing that this is really bad, this doesn't work, and that was not my experience, right? But I think it also comes down to, if you first of all have like a simple language like Go that compiles, and you know what to ask it for, and you can be very detailed in your prompts and how you structure your tasks, I tend to at least see better results. And also, the Prime Engine did some streams where he tried to learn vibe coding, right? And he was doing these like massive prompts, right? Instead of just breaking it down and being very specific. And I think being able to break it down and being very specific takes training. And my assumption is that also is also true for education. Like, teach me Python, for example. Okay, you mean, like, okay, that's probably where I would start, right?
Sure. Yeah, and that's interesting, because frankly, this is a skills that most software engineer will need to have, LLM or not. I mean, the ability to understand a problem, the ability to chunk a problem into very, very small pieces. This is something. This is something that you learn to do when you are either alone or in a very, very small team in some companies. Myself, when I started my career, I inherited the old IT department at a credit company, a fintech company back then. You quickly acquire that skills of being able to, oh, you know what? Management is asking X, Y, and Z, and I need to. What is X exactly? What it means in terms of. So again, I mean, the more granular that you get with the LLM, I think the better result you are getting. That is true. I've seen that, because myself, I kind of changed my mind a little bit in the last potentially 4 months or so. Finally decided to get it some real efforts, and it's true, it's true that it's pretty capable. Let's be honest, but again, I mean, it reflects the amount of efforts that you are putting into that thing, and I think it would be the same for education, but again, how do you know what to ask? Let's put ourselves into the shoes of I don't know, young software engineers or people that are just starting, that now see the work environment and things like that getting harder and harder. They need to acquire some experience, and it's pretty hard to exactly know what should you do with the LLM. I would guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's the gist of it, right? Like. What to ask it, how to structure it, and also there's also this thing with open source and AI contributions, and you have people coming in and they just do gigantic PRs, like 5,000, 10,000 line changes, right? Because how would they know? Like, how would they know that is maybe not a good idea? And when you start out, you do those big changes, and then you find out in a few days that you really, it was not smart, because you did a lot of things that you didn't understand. And I think that comes with experience, right? And maybe you could get that with LLMs. It's still such a new technology that exists out there, and people need to learn how to use it. And everyone has an opinion, right? Everyone's like, buy my I don't know, book on prompt engineering or whatever, right? But does anyone really know how to use it, right? And you also then have Dario, the CEO of it's called Dario, whatever, the CEO of Anthropic, saying now that we are in 12 months having software automated, which is, his last estimate was a couple of years off, and it's still not true. But then you read that as a as a maybe new to software engineering or studying it, and you're like, what's the point? I don't know.
Right.
It must be very disheartening to also get into the industry and see this, see all this talk, right?
I would imagine myself. I don't know. It's very hard to put myself into my younger shoes, if I can say that. I'm sure it's not a valid expression, but whatever. But yeah, totally. I mean, this is I think the craziest thing that is said at the moment. I think you are receiving the most VC funding. It seems to be that or something. But nonetheless, I mean, yeah, it's. I think that Claude has this mode, and I'm not super sure. I'm not very experienced with all of those tools, but I think that Claude has this mode, Cloud Code, right? Has this mode where it's supposed to be a learning mode or certain, but I'm not sure if it's only regarding a project that you are in or whatever, or if you can, put Cloud Code in that mode and start asking, what, I would like to learn Haskell. What can you, how can we jumpstart? That to me would be a crazy, a fantastic way to use LLM for people. Having like more intelligent tutor that are capable of starting you from scratch, and they would, they could on the fly build a curriculum that fits what you are. They could ask some questions at first. It has to exist. I mean, yeah, maybe someone is working on that. I don't know, but I think those companies should probably start to invest into education like that. In Quebec, we have a very hard time with teachers. The education system in here is abysmal. The government isn't investing at all. They are cutting. It's bad. It's just bad. But not a lot of people seems to be realizing that. The teachers, of course, knows that. They just want more resources for the kids and whatnot. So I'm wondering at some point if we could put more efforts, instead of putting efforts into letting the LLMs create, I don't know, videos of cats and whatnot, could we not try to, try to fix some very crucial problem that we have in society? In Quebec, this is an issue, but I don't think we are there, and I'm not even sure that we will be with what we have at the moment. I'm not even sure it's possible.
No, but also you're dealing with these indeterministic systems, right? So, I mean, imagine trying to learn really hard topics where the output changes every time, or potentially could change every time, right? So you need some form of determinism in the educational content. I know Boot.dev does, at least they introduced this thing called Boot, where you can chat with their agent to like explore the answers, and then of course he gamified it in a way where you have to, there's like a cost to use this chatbot, I believe, which that seems interesting, but it also it originates from a human putting together the material, right? And I could definitely see a way where you could expose the student to variations of a topic, probably because, like, from my point, learning has been a lot of iteration, seeing what works, seeing what not works, and it could probably be really good at that, setting up scenarios. But then again, how do you really validate the scenarios are true? Like, there needs to be something where you can kind of trust that what gets out is it's true. But I do think, like, iterating, and also think what a lot of the promises is with education and something like YouTube, where you can adapt to a person's learning style, learning approach, could potentially be an area to explore. But how that looks like, I have no clue.
Right. Yeah, because we have to, we have to think a little bit about that, I fear, because the way that I've always learned new things myself, and I'm still are today, was by, sitting there being relaxed, trying to approach a problem, writing some code with my hand, trying to read some documentation, just creating things that I was not going to publish, whatever. I was just wanting to learn something and build something that validate, if you are able to build that thing, you will have a check mark that says you are good with that, that what you wanted to learn. Now what I'm seeing at the moment, and again, I'm not trying to generalize, but this is, we are inundated with people that just pick the LLM and, oh, you know what? Look, I have created something. There's another Go transpiler that arrived lately that also tried to have results and enums and whatnot. There was another one. I think it was called. Is it Dingo or something like that? That was the first one that I've seen. Now there's another one. People seems to just build things and use the LLMs, because you can tell, first of all, the Dingo creator that does not hide it himself or themselves. I don't know, but they are. You're not really learning at the end of the day just by opening Cloud Code and creating something. But I think that was the best way to learn, by doing mistakes, reading a little bit of good documentation or a good book or a good thing. That was, and after that, trying to apply what you learn. What I'm fearing at the moment is that, and I'm hearing that a lot from my kids' friends and whatnot. They are at university at the moment, and they are doing their exam with OpenAI GPT thing. I mean, this is crazy. This is kind of very weird. What we are trying to do at the moment, the impact that it will have on the younger people. Because at some point you need to put your hand into something and you need to try to do something. And now, with the anxiety level that these young people have, I don't think we are helping at all. That is one piece to me that I am afraid a little bit for them. Yeah. Because now, if they don't have the answer immediately, they won't continue to try. I don't know for you. I started in 2000, my programming career. Back then, I mean, you were reading the documentation like, let's say I was doing like VB6. Like, let's take that for example. There were not a lot of material out there in the internet. You were in the MSDN documentation, the thing that Microsoft taught that was helpful. It was not bad. But my point was, you were doing a lot of mistakes and you were really putting a huge effort to learn something new back then. So I think that part is very important for us to really learn something. And that is where I am afraid that using an LLM, even if they are becoming extremely good, I don't think that we are keeping the knowledge as much as when we were doing that the hard way. Take, for example, it's crazy. The other day, I was returning to Go. I've been writing Go for 10 years. I was in the line, if error not equal to a call to a function, and I was having an error because I was not having the semicolon and error not equal nil. But I was not. I was lost because I'm using Cloud Code a lot these days, not for Go, because I don't want to write TypeScript, so I decided to. But long story short is that I was hearing that a lot, that starting to use the LLMs makes you lose a little bit of your skills. I've felt that firsthand. I was in Go code, which is supposed to be my go-to language for most everything. I was writing, I was trying to print out the error, and I was typing error.string, and I was having an error. I was like, wow, what is going on? I've been doing that for 10 years. Oh, that's error.error. That's true. That I mean, the knowledge is going very fast when you're not using that. I don't know. I think I went to a huge tangent, but my point was mainly, I don't know. It feels a little bit dangerous where we are going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also like I also have learned a lot from sitting down with books and reading and then trying it out and then reading again, right? But it also requires an attention span that it might not be that existent anymore for a lot of people. I know my attention span is definitely hurting. It's something I have to be actively looking out for, and also my wife. She also, like, both of us, sometimes we get stuck in these, like, the shorts, right? The short loop, and you just keep, and you have to look at each other and like, okay, get out of it. And I can just imagine having to study something with with that type of attention span, because a lot of it is just on the backbone, I think, because you did the hard work. And I think that's what you need to do, right? You need to do the hard work to understand it, because I had a similar experience. I used, I can't remember if it was not Go directly, maybe it was CSS, or maybe it was SQL. It was something simple that I used to do a lot, that I just had been lazy and had the LLM do for me. And it was just this, like, I stopped myself having forgotten how to do a join statement or something like that. I'm like, what is going on? There needs to be balance here.
Yeah.
And also I'm using the smallest plan on the Plus plan on OpenAI, and then I think it's called the Pro plan on Anthropic, so that I do get limited. You can really fast run through those usage limits, right? But it also forces me, okay, now is probably time to sit down and read through the code and write a little bit of code yourself. So it balances, because you could just get the big plan and have it written for you, and that might be the future of how we do programming, right? But if you see on like tech Twitter, at least, the ones who are really promoting that model has been doing software for 20 years. Like, what's it called? Armin, the guy behind Ginger and the mini version of Django. I can't remember the name right now, but he is really big on agentic coding, right? But he has also been doing this for many, many years. And that is might be efficient, right? And he probably don't care. I mean, he knows. I don't know. I think it's really hard to figure out how to balance that whole workflow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. But I cannot figure myself how a junior developer can drive this thing and ask precise things that will output good code, to be frank. Because me personally, I still have some things that I'm trying sometimes, and but it's normal. I mean, it's all about there is so many information that get drops, and it's still kind of I'm still impressed with what we have at the moment, but yeah, the amount of code that gets created per day and the amount of energy we have to review them from a real human is, there's a lot of debalancing there, to be frank. And I'm not super comfortable letting another LLM or AI doing the reviews. I mean, at some point, but I must admit, like I was saying, I'm in a project at the moment. I needed to do TypeScript, and it's heavily on the front end. I don't want to write that myself anymore. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm super glad that these things exist now, and I just can be a product manager.
Yeah.
So that to me, for front end point of view, because due to my vision situation. I don't want to do UI anymore. I don't want to do front end anymore. But on the other side, I have a very, very hard time opening the code, reviewing that, and sometimes I look at the code and I'm like, oh, what is going on there? And now the amount of energy that would be required for me to clean that up, I don't have it.
No.
This is, I don't know, this is a huge problem that we will have. It was already rough to maintain software. So, maintaining software is very, very hard. But now we will have a ton of code that no humans will be wanting to clean up.
Yeah. But as it's also like I'm a little bit. I think it was Dax, the guy behind Open Code, who talked about that humans they will always choose the lazier option. So I mean, I totally get it, right? If you can just be like, do this, get it out. If it works, I think people will start to do that more. And like you said, like having an AI review our code, I'm also very not. I'm really not into that. Like I'm very bullish on the AI writing code. I think that can be a good workflow, but then having an AI also review the code. I mean, at that point, we might as well just give up, right? I mean, that's fine if people want to do that, you do you, if that's how you want to build products. And maybe that works. Maybe that will work. It's still so early, and we saw the boom over the Christmas holidays, right, where at least Anthropic were giving out free usage, and people on Twitter were going nuts over Opus 4.5, and I was looking at it and saying, like, what are you talking about? This has been this good for a long time, right? So maybe this is the direction. I don't think we have seen as many products coming out. There was also a lot of people talking about the slopification of SaaS products. I'm not sure if I have seen that yet come up, but I mean, 6 months, a year, maybe you start to see if that approach is actually a viable way of building products, or if we revert a little bit. I do think we revert a little bit back. Like people going like, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and this is all we're gonna do for now. It's kind of like a feel is a little bit like when we have the crypto craze, where it's like, this is the new form of payment, right? This is gonna be revolutionized, and then you end somewhere in the middle instead of these two extremes of like regular money is gone or crypto is gone. Like we're just in this middle state, and I think we are probably gonna end in a middle state with LLMs. They're probably gonna get better, right? But we are not seeing huge jumps anymore. We are not seeing ChatGPT 6, 7, 8. We are seeing 5.1 and 5.1 with a weird name that no one can figure out what it means. So something needs to happen. And you saw the Jan LeCun from Meta actually leave to start his own, because he was talking a lot about the current structure and approach is not the way to progress. And I'm not an expert on this, so I can only like what the experts are talking about. But I think more of them are talking about the fact that now it's back to research, to get a breakthrough, to make them actually better, because right now they can't reason, even though they have thinking capability, right? It's not really thinking, and they can do impressive stuff, but they cannot really, push back or clarify or really like you need to iterate with it and know what to iterate on, and again go back to the point we made in the beginning, right, where you need to know what to push back against.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm curious a little bit to know, so why are you using it for Go especially? Is it when you have, let's say you have a problem that it's either you don't want to write the code because you have written that code like 100 times, or it's something new. I will give you an example where I personally have used it with Go. I needed to implement and I will probably say that wrongly, the Dijkstra algorithm. It's an algorithm that can calculate a position. Let's say you have a game. I don't know if you know that game, Ticket to Ride, for example. It's a board game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have train stations that are connected to other train stations. So I built myself an application to be able to continue to play that. I play that with my family, my wife and my kids, but I don't see the board anymore. I don't see the cars. So I needed something for me to be able to, first of all, like calculate the routes. And I don't know. I did not really wanted to do that. So I took the LLM to help me with that. But I kind of regretted that a little bit after the fact. You know, that is very very interesting for, because I would have loved to implement that. But so I was curious to hear what are you using, because personally I don't use that with Go myself. I still prefer to write my Go code, and that is probably crazy since Go is compiled. So I mean, at least it's a little bit less dangerous than even TypeScript, for example. But yeah, I'm just curious to know, where are you using it?
So there's definitely an element of laziness into, like, how I use it. There's some things where you're like, I have done this a million times before, and I think that if you use it in a code base where you have established some good patterns and some good practices, the LLM is really good at following those practices. Also, it's getting good at following feedback from the LSP. So a lot of these at least terminal tools feed the LSP diagnostics into the LLM. So it's also good at like fixing it. I tend to do like really low hanging fruits that I need to do. For example, I'm building a web framework in Go, where I basically start by scaffolding MVC architecture for Go. That involves a lot of template manipulation. That is really boring to write, and it's also really really error prone. And I have used AI a lot there, where I would sit down and figure out, okay, so I want these templates. I will create some of the templates myself, and then create some testing, some golden file testing, something that it can validate through output, and then I can then point and say, okay, look at the file for controller, right, and then repeat this for this user controller, something like this. That I think it's very good at. I also tend to use it a lot for exploring different options. I tend to work from home, I work remotely at least, and sometimes it's the thing of like bouncing ideas of it and having it build POCs that you then review. Tend to work really really well. It will definitely do something stupid, and if you sit down and look in the code, you find that, okay, this is wrong, you fix it. But you can kind of work side by side with it. If you know what to ask, you can get some feedback, some other ideas or some other angles, or have you thought about this? And then, okay, let's build version A, B, and C, and then I can look at the code without having to spend, I don't know, a half a day writing the code, right? I used to work with one of my clients, and he was very on AI. he basically, we had me and another one who had been doing coding a little bit longer than some of the other team members, and he was always like, "You guys are a little bit slower than the others," and and it's like, yeah, because we look at the code, right? And I did build a lot of integrations with so this was the product that wanted to use AI for a lot of automation, and he wanted to integrate with CMS systems. So I sat down and I built an integration to one CMS that was basically connecting the client's account and then fetching data in a background job and then loading into the database and then generate some embeddings so we could search it, or the agents could search through the records, right? And once I had that structure that was like, okay, this is sound, this is where I want this to go. Having it repeated for other CMSs was a really good use case of this, because all of these CMS systems has like some API documentation. So it knows the underlying data structure, it knows the code architecture, it just, in a sense, needs to review the API documentation and then write the code. I review it, maybe I review it with the agents, and then I could easily replicate the setup for other CMS systems. So that is mainly where I use it. I tend to write all my front end code in HTML through Temple, where I mean, if you have a lot of components, it can be okay at it, but I definitely think it's not as good as if you use it for something like React, where it seems like you can just tell it, build me dashboard, and you get a decent looking dashboard. So that is also where I do most of the work for actually writing the Go code. So I think like low hanging fruits, repetitive tasks, exploration, and then MVPs of a feature or something that could go many different ways. That is probably where I spend most of the time with it.
I think that might be where junior developer might have a very, very hard time to draw a line on what they should outsource to the LLM and what they should try to learn or try to do themselves.
Yeah.
That might be very difficult to know at that stage in your career what you should, what is a low hanging fruit, for example, or and I think the thing that I don't like at the moment, and I've said that a lot in this podcast, but I will continue to say it, the messages that are the hype that is currently is that you don't need to code anymore and you can just put your hat of the product manager or the product designer or whatever. But yeah, I think this is very 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 not good to say to junior developer, and I don't have a lot of contact, or unfortunately I don't have any data to base any assumption at the moment. That is sad. I used to be I used to be in position where I was hiring a lot of junior personnel and trying to train them, and I've seen people going from zero to very, very good senior software engineer. I miss that a lot. So I'm wondering what it's like at the moment in companies and organizations, because we are talking about writing codes and the education and things like that, but I think the onboarding and just employee development in general has also taken a huge hit globally in a lot of places.
It definitely seems to be a downturn. But again, if you are, I don't know, if you are maybe not technical, and you see all these big corporations talking about how programming is dead, right? And I think most companies probably look at developers as a cost center, right? So if you can cut down that cost center, why not be a little hesitant? And I think you can do more with LLMs. It's definitely a new tool you have to learn, but it is also just a new tool. It's like going from writing code in TextMate to writing it in a proper IDE, for example. Like when I went to, I used to use JetBrains products a lot. So went from like VS Code to JetBrains, the Golang, right? And it was like, oh, what is this? This is amazing. I can do so much. That's where we really see it. Is like it is a tool that we need to learn But it's true for for juniors, it's really difficult. Also because one of the things when I have hired junior developers myself has been to look for opinions. Do you have any opinions, and can you justify your opinions? I don't really care so much if I agree with opinions, but as long as you have opinions and you have a reason for having them, I might know they are wrong because I just have done this a longer time, right, and seen the thing that this person is talking about. But the fact that they have an opinion about something is, at least in my eyes, always like a positive signal, and that comes from doing things, right, and doing it a lot of times, so you get exposure to a problem surface and know why something is probably good or bad, at least in your mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. Nice. So I don't know where we are with the episode, but I think that could be a good one. I don't know if you have anything to say more regarding the education. I think we might see some kind of return to more human interaction in terms of course. Maybe the course creator will need to change a little bit. Maybe try to build communities. Try to add some coaching potentially, some more human interaction. That might be what people will look for in the future. Because let's face it, when you're using the LLM, you're kind of alone in your corner, and it's not always fun. I don't know. Maybe the human touch will return for the education.
I do think there will come a time again where people will realize that it is a competitive advantage to have an expert walk you through how to use a tool, right? And then I think you will see people realizing like, okay, maybe spending, I don't know, $50 to $100 on this course from this person who's doing this for a long time is probably a good return on investment. But I think with the current discourse right now, that sentiment is not there because there is all this worry about it being done and this mindset that I can just use LLM to teach me everything. So yeah, I think we will return back, and then it's a question of how do you integrate AI into these educational products. So probably again somewhere in between, right? But I do think we are in a slump right now where everything is uncertain and people don't know how to respond to this.
And there's probably a lot of courses out there that was just created blatantly out of LLMs. So it might be, you were talking about SaaS earlier. I mean, might be the same. I don't have look exactly what's going on in the courses world, but I would assume that there might have been some material out there that were just created by by an AI and whatnot. So that is bad. That is bad for the customers.
Definitely, and if you just ship that, then it gets bad. I did completely vibe code an MVP of a SaaS I'm considering, and it was like, okay, write all the code for me, do this. I knew what I wanted, right? But at the end of the day, I did not understand the code, so that was a write, test, and throw away, and then start over. And I do think that loop, if you can fully utilize that, you're gonna see some nice returns of using AI. But if you just prompt it, close your eyes, and press release, you're not gonna last long. I don't think so.
Oh yeah. You need to be in the loop for sure. Yeah. All right. So cool, Morten. So do you have any closing thought, or we wrap up?
I think we will just repeat the thesis over and over again, a hypothesis at least. So yeah, no more thoughts on this.
All right. Thank you. That was fun. So that's the episode.
Yeah, thank you. It was really fun to try and do a proper podcast.
All right. Bye.
Bye.